Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Well, what a difference a couple of weeks can make, huh? This day has been a long time coming for the state of Louisiana. And what we saw over the last few days is a legislature that has found the courage to compromise and a strong desire to put Louisiana first. And all of Louisiana will benefit from that. You know, the people of our great state are not going to wake up tomorrow with the legislature's action having waved some magic wand and all of our problems go away. But they're going to wake up to a state that really is poised for tremendous long-term success. Over the last years, you know, I've traveled the state and I've met with local elected officials, community leaders, people in business and industry, all over the great state of Louisiana. And I can tell you this plan, this approach that we've come up with here in this special session is going to give business leaders in Louisiana and those who are wanting to invest in our state the confidence that they need to know that Louisiana will have the stability that they're looking for, the predictability that they need to make their investments here. And that is what our state needs, stability, predictability. It's what our students need. It's what's right for higher education institutions. It's what's right for everyone in the state of Louisiana. It's what we've all been longing for. And we finally have it. We finally have it after many years of unpredictability, of piecemeal, ad hoc approaches to budgeting and revenue in the state of Louisiana. And I want to personally thank each and every member of the legislature, many of whom are here tonight. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your work. You worked with me and with your fellow legislators to reach a compromise that's going to fund our critical priorities. And it is not everything that we wanted it to be. Nobody got everything that they was looking for, but everybody got something. That's what a compromise is. But it is going to fund our most critical priorities in a responsible way and still give nearly $600 million in tax reduction to the state of Louisiana. I'll point out that in the House, 74 legislators supported a plan to fund our state's priorities. In the Senate, 33 members out of 39. Republicans, Democrats, Independents voted to put our fiscal cliff finally in the rearview mirror. And now that the fiscal cliff is in the rearview mirror, prosperity and stability are straight ahead. This really is what bipartisanship looks like. It's what compromise looks like. And I want to thank the leadership. I want to thank Senate President Alario. I want to thank Speaker Taylor Barra. I also want to thank individual legislators, those who were chairing committees, such as Neil Abramson at the House Ways and Means, Senator Morrell, Revenue and Fisk in the Senate, also Senator Eric LaFleur, who did a tremendous job, Senate Finance Committee chairman, but also the caucus chairman, who were able to finally bring members of the legislature together, have real conversations, and really start to listen to one another, because we've always been able to talk, but the listening has been in short supply. But those caucus leaders, Robert Johnson, Randall Gaines, and Lance Harris, I want to thank them as well. You know, for the past 2.5 years, we've been faced with an incredibly difficult task. And I've said it before, and maybe you don't want to hear it again, but I'm going to say it one more time. I would still rather have been the governor who took over looking at a $2 billion surplus and not the $2 billion deficit. But that is not the reality. We knew the challenge would be difficult. We knew solving the problem would require everyone to summon the courage to do what is right, what is hard, not what is easy. But because so many legislators saw the value in investing in our state's future, tonight, parents and students can go to sleep assured that TOPS will be fully funded and that we're giving them a scholarship to an institution that will be adequately funded as well. And that is worthy of applause because it's only the second time in 10 years that that has happened, that we have funded our TOPS program and our universities and community and technical colleges without a cut. We can fulfill our commitment to our partner hospitals and communities across the state. The families and the individuals who are on waiver services can breathe a sigh of relief for the first time in many years. And I'm happy to announce that the Acadiana Center for Youth and Monkey will open in the second half of fiscal year 19. And Robert Johnson, I know that that is a big deal for you. You know, over the past several days, we've been able to put partisan politics aside and focus on what really matters, and that is the people that we are here to represent. And no, it shouldn't have taken this long. It shouldn't have been this hard. And we should certainly continue to work for structural tax reform going forward. And I and experts and certainly many members of the legislature have said that we need to do that. But the progress that we have made together this week indicates what I have known all along. There is far more that unites us than divides us. We are Louisianans. First and foremost, we're not Democrats and Republicans. And as a result of that, tonight Louisiana is on a much more solid footing. You know, I said in my opening address just a few days ago, none of us here at the Capitol won during the special session. Not me, not the legislature, not Democrats, not Republicans, but the people of Louisiana did win. And that's how it should be. So again, I want to thank all the members of the legislature for working with me and with each other to bring this fiscal crisis to an end. You know, we have made incredible progress in spite of the challenges that we faced. And now I look forward to that bright future that I have always known was out there on the horizon. The stability, the predictability is now here for us in Louisiana. And prosperity and opportunity is what lies ahead. And I also want to thank everyone in my office, my Commissioner of Administration, Jay Darden, and all of your folks who work so hard. I want to thank you. My Secretary of Revenue, Kimberly Robinson, thank you so much for your hard work. And Mark Cooper, my Chief of Staff, and everyone who works so hard in the Governor's office. God bless you and thank you so much. Okay, with that, I will be happy to take questions. Yes, sir.
All right, so in response to what Senator Sharon Hewitt had said just before the Senate's vote today, essentially saying that this administration is not committed to long-term structural tax reform, as you put it. That's to say anything other than the sales tax. Is there a certain timeline that you have in place with creating maybe another commission or something to that extent?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, that was the one political speech you heard tonight. Every other speech in the House and in the Senate was about Louisiana. It was about what we've been able to accomplish in putting the fiscal cliff in our rearview mirror. And, you know, what she forgot to tell you and the people of Louisiana is that I embraced every single recommendation that came from the task force created by the legislature to study fiscal and budget reform. I put them all in special call. They had a fiscal session last year. Every single bill recommended by that task force was filed by members of the legislature. The House chose not to pass a single one. So she forgot to tell you that. So her talk was long on politics, but very short on facts. So, and I will tell you that the State General Fund in the state of Louisiana is $1 billion less than it was 10 years ago. It's only about $55 million more than last year, and there are $260 million worth of mandated increases. What that means is we are actually cutting all across the state government in order to accommodate those increases. And so I'm sorry that she doesn't recognize that, and I'm sorry that she chose to give a very political speech on what should have been a night celebrated by all of Louisiana, because we were finally able to come together. And particularly when she said that the Medicaid expansion is crowding out revenue that's needed for other services, she could not have been further from the truth. The fact of the matter is, in the current fiscal year, we're saving $317 million because we expanded Medicaid, and next year is $265 million. Further, the Medicaid expansion, and everyone should understand this, does not create a demand for general fund. It is funded through statutory dedications. However, when someone is uninsured in Louisiana, it creates a demand on general fund because 40 cents on the dollar actually comes from the state general fund to provide the care, whereas this year we're providing 6 cents on the dollar for the coverage through a statutory dedication. And when we expanded Medicaid, we made sure that we did so in a way that paid for the cost all the way up to the 10% match that we will incur when Medicaid expansion is at its most expensive for the state of Louisiana. It is still a far better deal than paying 40 cents on the dollar for the care when someone remains insured. But most importantly, it isn't about the savings, although the savings are there. And our approach to Medicaid expansion was responsible. But for decades, Louisiana has had too many working poor. We have had too many people uninsured, and we have had too poor of results in terms of health care. And so to make health care available for 470,000 working poor adults in Louisiana and to save $317 million in the process is simply the right thing to do. And I'm sorry that she went in that direction. And maybe if she doesn't want working poor people to have health care, she ought to just say it. Next question. Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, it's been at the top of my priority list. That's why it's been on the special session calls that we had earlier this year, and why I made sure that working through Kimberly Robinson that every single recommendation of the task force was presented to the legislature in a bill filed in the Ways and Means Committee. But at this point in time, we should be realistic. If it didn't happen in the first 3 years of this term, it's not going to happen next year in an election year. It is just simply too hard. But we should all be encouraged by the fact that we have achieved stability and predictability in the state of Louisiana, and that we are going to move forward in a way that should inspire confidence in people who want to invest in Louisiana, so that they can know that we are going to have educated, trained, skilled people here that can be their employees. They know that our higher education system is funded without a reduction, that our TOPS program is fully funded. So there's a lot of good news tonight, and I don't want to dwell on the negative that comes from the fact that we really haven't done structural tax reform over the last few years when that was the stated purpose for putting the sales tax to begin with on a 27-month, there were 27 months from the time it was created until the time it expired in order to allow for structural tax reform to take place. It never did take place. And so that's why we're here tonight. But the good news is that fiscal cliff is now gone. And we have predictability ahead of us. And I believe more opportunity and more prosperity for all of Louisiana ahead of us. There are more people working in our state today than ever in our history. Unemployment is down nearly 2 full percentage points from the day I became governor. There is not a state in the nation whose unemployment rate declined more than ours last year. And we are achieving, we are landing the biggest economic development projects in our state's history. So our future is bright. And I could not be more excited than I am tonight, more optimistic about our future. And I know when I see young people across the state of Louisiana that I can look at them and tell them, yes, your top scholarship is going to be there. Yes, Go Grants is funded at an all-time high in the state of Louisiana for need-based help to get through higher education. I can tell them that. And so I'm sorry, Alabama, but you're not going to be picking off our best and brightest. And I happen to believe in early November 2018, they're going to come over here for boat whipping too. Now, yes, ma'am.
Representative Jones had some very nice things to say about the speaker this evening. Do you agree with his comments that the speaker should get a lot of credit for what happened?
Look, earlier in my speech, before you asked that question, I singled out the speaker because at the end of the day, we were able to put a compromise together, and he was instrumental in that. He came to my office and we met. We had a discussion with several other legislators, Democrats and Republicans, and they went down, and in a matter of 2 or 3 hours, it got put together. And so I will give credit where credit is due. And Taylor, who has always been a friend of mine, I will tell you that he did a good job in reaching that compromise and making sure that we would pursue bipartisanship. And he deserves credit for that. But so does the president of the Senate. He has always been there. And he works so hard to make sure that the folks in the Senate are talking and listening to one another, and that they talk and listen to the folks in the House as well. And I enjoy working with him and individual members of the legislature, and I called them out earlier tonight as well. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Governor, do you think there is something specific you can point to about what changed to make a deal reachable this year when it wasn't reachable in the last session? Are you willing to share that?
What is today, the 24th? The cliff was 6 days ahead of us. I mean, the facts didn't change. The options for us to consider didn't change. And that's why I said it earlier, and I meant it. I don't want to dwell on this, but we should have done this in the fiscal session last year, the last scheduled fiscal session before the fiscal cliff, but that didn't happen. We should have done it in February when every option that was available to us in this session was also available. We should have done it in the first special session. The second special session of the year, but the first one after the regular session. But for whatever reason, it just didn't come together. And so we can either dwell on that, or we can celebrate the fact that today it did really come together. And well, look, the encouraging thing is we have demonstrated that it can be done. That we are not Washington, D.C., where they are still paralyzed by dysfunction on every major decision that they have to make. Every crisis, every significant thing that's affecting our country, they are paralyzed by dysfunction. That is not the case in Louisiana, and that is what we demonstrated. Look, I'm a Democratic governor. We've got significant majorities of Republicans in both the House and the Senate. But we got 33 votes in the Senate for the revenue that we need to fund the budget, and 74 in the House. That speaks to the difference between Louisiana and Washington, and I've been saying that all along. Now, it is also true that you had a unanimous vote in the Senate to spend the money that only some wanted to raise, but that's okay. That's the way it works.
Last question.
Maybe that was the last question. Yes, sir.
All right, so with all these special sessions done, obviously summer's coming up, you have a plan to just take a few.
I do. Look, I'm going to be here at work all of this week. I plan to take my wife and my kids on a vacation starting a week from now, and I'll take 5 or 6 days, and we'll come back and we will get to work on behalf of every citizen in the state of Louisiana. Because while I think our biggest challenge is now behind us, and we have a lot more stability and predictability, prosperity and opportunity ahead of us, there's still an awful lot of work to do in the great state of Louisiana. I'm going to get up every single day, committed to the people that I serve. God bless you, and thank you very much. Thank you.